Hello, my name is Rain and welcome to my channel where I discuss fantasy Formula 1. Today's video is a bit of a scuffed one. I don't have that much time this week, but I still want to discuss my team, what happened in Austria, and what my plans are for Silverstone. No in-depth discussions today, but most of the things that I said about, the one premium teams, the two premium teams, the C tiers, all of that I said last week in my transfer plans video for Austria still applies here. So if you want to listen to that, you can go back and watch that video. Overall, it was a weekend with a lot of upsides, but also some downsides. The good thing is that I feel like I was pretty much correct in all of my assessments. The C tier did perform really, really well. Only really Ocon out of the premium C tiers failed to increase in price. You also had the likes of Sargent, Bottas, Show who didn't do it. But that was what I was preaching. I was preaching that the single B tier or single A tier driver lineup was still strong because those good C tier assets would come through in a sprint race. And I mean, they did, apart from Ocon. Unfortunately, I do have Ocon. This was my team. Let's go and click over here and check my rank real quick because I couldn't do that before. So it was overall a slightly reduced, a slightly red arrow from about 9,000 down to 10,000. But considering that Lando, my DRS boosted driver, DNF'd, I'd say that's a pretty good result. Now, he didn't technically DNF, but minus 18 for positions lost is pretty much the same as a DNF, right? But the total amount of points then was 208, or I already spoke about the C tiers. Yuki, Nico, Magnussen, all of them came through. An unfortunate outcome of Verstappen and Norris coming together was one. Well, I lost Lando Norris, which would have been driver of the day, would have been a lot of points. He still got driver of the day, which is incredible. That's 6 out of the last 7 driver of the days, by the way. But because of Max Verstappen dropping down to 5th and Checo being Checo, Red Bull Racing only got 56 points. Ferrari also got the fastest pit stop, so that switch from Ferrari to Red Bull was a net negative overall. But the plan was positive. I feel like I can't fault myself too much in if that final come together with Max and Lando would have happened. I would not have had to worry, but of Red Bull. I would have been correct in my Red Bull over Ferrari assessment. Also, Ferrari taking the fastest pit stop is just, it adds salt. It pours salt into the wound. Another thing that I was correct about was no chips, right? I spoke in depth about that on my live streams that I did last weekend. I'm doing another live stream, by the way, this weekend before the deadline in Silverstone. I talked about, the chips, what chip you should use, and I pretty much said no one. The only chip that even remotely was worth it, I guess, was the no negative if you had Lando as a DRS boost, but even then it was only barely worth it. So all of my assessment on the no chip strategy went well. Those who use Limitless are definitely not very happy. So because of all of this, I feel like I have to toot my own horn a bit. I am correct most of the time, but I'm also wrong all of the time. So take that with a grain of salt. But my tips usually work out rather well. I did also speak in length about why Hulkenberg was a must-have for this weekend. And I mean, look, he came away with 20 points as a C-tier driver. What more can you ask for? So let's go over and look at my plans for Silverstone. If you remember from my team selection video last week, I had options, right? And those options are still what I'm gunning for. The plan is to most definitely, certainly with 100%, no shadow of a doubt, have a 2 premium driver lineup by Hungary. Why Hungary? Well, Hungary is a track with not a lot of DNFs and not a lot of overtakes. Hungary was, I think, the worst race last year, or second worst after Monaco. Correct me if I'm wrong, but for a session, for a race such as that, you definitely want the premium drivers as the C tiers. I don't really see the C tiers performing, so there's no reason to have all these expensive C tiers. It's better to have a Russell and a Piastri, for example. Another thing that I didn't mention earlier was that one unlucky sort of afterthought, I guess, with Lando and Max coming together is that even though I was correct with the 4 C tiers being a good lineup and almost all expensive C tiers performing well, those who ran a 2 premium lineup did really well because they had Piastri or Russell, and Piastri and Russell were the drivers that hauled this weekend because of what happened with Max and Lando. So in Silverstone, then, I have two options. I have 3 transfers, which gives me a lot of flexibility, but if I want to get to a reasonable 2 premium lineup, I would have to do 4. I can do it in 3, but that would require getting Logan Sargent, and I'm just not a fan of Logan Sargent as an asset. I think he's going to keep decreasing in price. He might be out of the sport soon, so I don't trust him. I could just do this, keep Lando, get George Russell in, then get Logan Sargent here, and then as a constructor, then get Ferrari back in. And that was always the plan, by the way. It's just unfortunate that it turned out the way it did. So this is the team I could run, and it looks good on paper. If I were to go without Logan Sargent, I would have to take a -10 to switch Lando down to, something like a Piastri, because then I could afford something like I can't afford Gasly anymore because of his price increase. It would only have to be something like a Show or a Bottas, and I don't think that's worth it anymore. What I could do is go for Logan Sargent for 1 race. So essentially just do those 3 transfers that I just showed you. And once... Let's see here. Where is Lando? There you go. So if I do this for 1 race in Silverstone, then I have 2 transfers in Hungary. And if I want to get rid of Logan Sargent, then I can downgrade Lando Norris then, and then upgrade Logan Sargent. So I can do it in 2 steps and run Logan Sargent for just 1 race. The other option I have, so that entire line, getting to a team with 2 premium drivers, and this could be Lewis Hamilton as well, by the way. I can just exactly afford Lewis Hamilton as he is on 21.8 million. The switch that I could do, or the other route, I suppose, is to actually stick with the single premium lineup for 1 more race. What that would entail is to still downgrade Red Bull. It would be to Ferrari, and then downgrade 1 of my premium C tiers, probably Esteban Ocon. I don't really like him anymore now that it's very obvious that Gasly is the preferred driver at Alpine. So probably downgrade Esteban to... it would probably have to be either an Albon or a Bottas, but it would probably be Bottas. I would do the Bottas switch now. That would leave a lot of money in the bank, which looks bad, but it's actually kind of fine, because that means that later I have a lot of money to switch back. What I could also do is do a little sneaky in-between move here and actually get Lance Stroll. So my 2 moves would be Ferrari and Lance Stroll, which is essentially buying back what I did last week, which seems weird, but at least I got Nico last week, and that's all I can say about that. But getting Lance Stroll back, because what this means is that then for Hungary, I would have 3 transfers, and then I can do something like this. And I would also be able to get Lance Stroll's final price rise as he's approaching that B tier category. So these 3 moves should be enough to get a 2B lineup, whether that's with Logan Sargent, Bottas, Show, hopefully Bottas or Show, right? And I'm okay with running a 2B lineup with either of the kick drivers. I don't think you can avoid that. You need to be super, super rich if you want to run a 2 premium, triple non-bad C-tier driver, if that makes sense. So I'm okay with running one of the kicks. It's just I desperately want to avoid Logan Sargent. I feel like Bottas could at least get some overtakes when the car is decent. I mean, he starts far back, so he always has the opportunity, and I feel like he's more of a 50-50 rather than a 25-75 kind of driver, if you understand what I mean by that. So those are my plans. Nothing set in stone yet, but it's one of the two. Either stick with the single C with Lando Norris as my single premium for Silverstone and get Lance Stroll back in essentially for one last punt, or do the 2 premium already in Silverstone with Logan Sargent and then move off of Logan Sargent in Hungary with 2 transfers there. So those are my options. I don't really have anything else to discuss. If you liked this video, please leave me a like. I'm sorry that it's so scuffed, so last minute, but it's all I could do. I'm working a lot of hours this weekend, or this week. But yeah, I'll see you on the deadline stream on Saturday, and don't forget to subscribe. We're so close to that magic 1,000. See you on Saturday. Bye.